Hey guys, it's Kate and I hope you're having a great day today. I'm here with my Mozart Kohlrabi palette and my quill brush, and I'm going to do some nice fun watercolor doodles today. So I'm going to make 2 watercolor layers on this sheet, and I'm going to start out by spraying a little bit of water, and I'm using my spritzer bottle here, and this does some really interesting water beading, and I love the way the paint kind of flows on that. So I'm going to be working with some lighter colors in the background and a little bit more neutral. So I'm going to dip into this brown in the palette, and I'm going to just start dropping this in, and you can kind of see it slowly spread out. And I'm going to be a little bit thicker with my brush in some spots and just kind of help it move. And I'm just sort of dipping my tip. I'm going to have some areas where I push down on my brush and get more texture and a larger shape. But I'm just going to sort of scatter this around my page a bit. And next, I'm going to go into my yellow ochre. And I'm going to get a bit of a brush load on this too, and this is just a little bit of a different color. And I'm going to scatter this around a bit. I'm going to leave plenty of white space. And if I want to add more water, I can. And kind of mix it in a bit. So I want to keep this light because my shapes that I'm putting on top are going to be a bit darker. So I'm just going to kind of go around and get an interesting background on the page. Now with a smaller brush, I am going to dip into some of these metallics. I think for today, I'm going to go into this metallic green, and I think that will look kind of nice with this sort of golden background. And I'm just dropping my brush in and letting those kind of bloom out into the rest of the painting. The metallics in this palette are really wonderful, and this is fading out really nicely into the rest of the painting. So it's going to add a lot of really interesting texture. So I'm just kind of going around, and this is going to add a nice sparkle too to our background. And if we paint over it, we might reactivate it a little bit and get some more interesting effects. And this is just going to have a nice little sparkle and shimmer when we're done. And I think that looks really cool. So I'm going to let this first layer dry, and then we're going to come back in with some fun shapes. All right, I love how this dried. It's so pretty. I'm going to do some shapes over this in just a few little spots, and I'm going to work wet in wet. I'm going to work with this carmine color, and I'm going to grab one of my little mixing cups here. And I'm going to use this as my sort of bright color. And I'm going to mix it with Payne's Gray, I think. And then we'll just see what else we come up with here. I'm going to get some nice rich color on here. So I'm just going to make sure to just drop it in as we go so we can have a nice fun doodle base. I'm just going to move my brush around and just get some nice color here. I'm so indecisive what I want to do. All right, I'm going to go into the Payne's Gray and just kind of mix it right in this cup, and we're going to get kind of a dark purple color. I'm going to get some more Payne's Gray and deepen that up a bit. And just keep going with this paint. I love the purple that this makes. So I'm kind of dipping my brush in and then going into water and smoothing it out a bit. And I think I'm going to do a little bit of blotting here. So I just grabbed a little piece of paper towel. I'm going to come in and blot back a couple of these spots to lighten it back up. And then I'm going to go back into my paint again and add some more color. Just some nice deep color here that kind of fades into the background. I love that. All right, I'm going to go back into my yellow ochre and add a little bit of this to bring it back toward the front as sort of an accent color. Can also kind of come in here with some marks. Let that red kind of go in and mix with it a little bit. I think that's really pretty. All right, I'm gonna go into this metallic green again, and it kind of fades away a bit, but I love how it fades, and I didn't really know how exactly it did that before, but also red and green are complementary colors. So, and it works pretty well with yellow. So I'm going to go back in with another layer, which will add some sparkle, a little bit of contrast, and it should have some nice bleed effects where the paper is still kind of wet. So we'll just have a lot of interesting color in here and a lot of good doodle base areas. We got a good variety of hard edges and soft edges. We've got contrast, and I really like what we ended up with here. So I am going to let this dry, and then we're going to head into it with our markers and pens. All right, I am back, and this is dry, and I'm going to go in with my #1 tip fine liner. And this is kind of a marker tip, and I'm seeing some flowers in here, and I'm going to bring those out. This is going to be a pretty fun little doodle. So I'm going to outline where I kind of see my flowers and the petals, and I'm going to also take a little bit of creative license and really follow along with my watercolor borders. So this one I think is kind of behind this one here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark these just like that. And then this one, the flower center kind of looks like it's right here. So I'm going to make some petals here too. And they're not going to be proportional petals. They're going to be just following along with these abstract shapes, but you'll be able to tell that they are flowers. So I'm just going to have them coming out from the center here. Right, just like that. And then there's another one right here that's going to be kind of behind this one. Just like that. So I have that done with my thicker marker because those are going to be sort of the focal point of this painting. But I also grabbed my very narrow 0.1 tip, and I am going to add some texture to these with some fine lines coming out from the center. So you can get kind of a nice hash mark on these flower petals. And it will add a little bit of texture, a little bit of direction. I'm kind of following along the natural curve that I can see taking shape on the painting. And I'm going to start off with these. And I may add some more to add like a little bit of shading to the center. So I'm just going through and adding in that curve. Now I might just sort of come from the center here and put more lines so that it gets darker around the edge of the center. So I'm not coming all the way out. I'm just kind of doing some quick strokes here to darken that up toward the middle. And I'm going to do that all the way around. I'm just going to darken it slowly and kind of work my way around until I like how it looks. And I think that's a really pretty first flower. So these ones, I had drawn around them on the inside here. I'm just going to continue with that so it doesn't look off. And I'm going to do the same thing. I love how this is turning out so far. That darkness, I think that looks so pretty. So I'm just going to keep on going. And I'll be back when the rest of these are complete. All right, I've got my red glitter Posca pen, and I am going to add some texture to the centers of these flowers. I'm just going to do some very compact dot patterns. I want to be able to see the watercolor coming through, but this is going to add a bit of sparkle and another layer of color and pattern. And then I'm also going to incorporate this somewhere on the outside of these flowers also. And what I might do is add a couple of simple patterns, maybe almost like background leaves. And I'm just going to come through and do some pink leaves here. I love that. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more on this side. Maybe add a shape here. This is just going to be very subtle. I'm going to add some other patterns here too, but for right now, this is just what I want. And maybe one coming down this way. All right. I'm going to grab my number 10 jelly roll and add some more patterns. I'm going to pick these sort of purpley areas, and I'm just going to add some dots just for some little bright pops of white. And I'm just going to go on these areas with the Payne's Gray. Now my dots are going to be various sizes, and it's just going to add some brightness back in here. And I'm going to follow along with this brush stroke, and wherever it kind of bled, maybe into here too. Then I'm going to flip this a bit, and I'm going to kind of stop where it really turns red. Now I'm going to put the white away for right now, and I think I want to add some of this dark green. And I see this little shape here that looks like a curve. So I'm going to follow that and just add a bit of a curve to that. And I'm going to pick out some other watercolor shapes that look like curves too. So this one here, just a little simple one. And I'm just kind of looking through and see what might be nice. I'm going to do this one right here and have it kind of coming out from behind this little leaf shape. Same thing here. And this is going to add some contrast to the outside, which I love. I am going to pick out a little shape from here. This one I'm going to make another bigger one. But I'm going to kind of follow back behind these other things so that we have a little bit of depth and you can kind of see it coming out in front of it. And I'm going to add another curve here and then let it kind of get fatter, just like that. And I want to find some opportunities down in this area. So I think I'm going to come right out here and then have a little curve here. And you can see how we're just sort of building out this texture and the contrast. So we have that black in the center, and I've got some darker green toward the outside. This is a really nice sort of neutral green. It doesn't sort of overpower it like some of the brighter greens. So it works out really well. So I'm going to add one right here. And have that coming right up to this leaf spot. And I'm going to add another one here. And I'm going to have it kind of go right up next to that flower. I'm just going to go ahead and put it right through the gap in those petals that we have. And then I'm going to do a couple more right here, just little ones. And that should be about it for this green. Now I'm going to go back to my white Posca pen. I'm going to add a few little white dots to these centers also for some more pop of contrast. And then I'm kind of looking here at where we might have some more opportunities. All right, I've got this red spot here, and I'm going to just turn that into another leaf shape and kind of fill out the rest of this pattern next to those white dots. So I'm going to add this, and it will sort of fill out that center area, maybe even one kind of peeking out from behind right there. Another one here. And I'm just sort of going through and picking out some shapes where we can have it behind some of these dark green areas. And that's kind of what I will do to fill in the rest of these pink areas. Just like that. And then what I might do is grab this jelly roll again and do white outlines loosely around my leaves to get them to pop just a little bit more. We've got some nice contrast, some nice brightness. I think we can call this one done. I love this one. I love how it turned out. I'm going to give you the close-up. It's going to have some sparkle on it too, but this one just is so pretty. I am in love. And you can kind of see that sparkly red Posca, which, I mean, it says red, but really it's kind of pink. I mean, that's pink, really. But I love how this one turned out. I hope you take your supplies and follow along with this one with me. It was just a lot of fun, and it turned out beautiful. So grab whatever supplies you have on hand and give this one a try, and just kind of pick out some shapes from your blobs and start filling them in. The key here is the thickness of your pen. You can do thicker or thinner lines. You know, I have the very fine liner on the center for the little hash marks to add some shading, and then it's kind of got the thicker outline around the petals and stuff. So turned out really well. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep creating.